Ladies and gentlemen, let's get the first match underway. Let's meet your first team. Make some noise for TNC! One more time for TNC! Good luck, lots of love. Ladies and gentlemen, TNC, their opponents. Give it up for Team Spirit! Give a loud Filipino welcome to Team Spirit! There you have it. It is their first time here in the Philippines. They're enjoying it very much. Good luck to Team Spirit. Welcome. Very, very much excited for our first match. Crowd is coming in, we're feeling the energy. Are you guys excited for our first match of Galaxy Battles 2 here at Philippine Arena? Give it up and make some noise if you're feeling it. We're hearing some chants. Feel free to chant all the way. Go ahead, let the players feel, of course, your energy for today. And we are ready. Our first match for Galaxy Battles 2, TNC versus Team Spirit. We're now going to throw it over to the panel with Danily. Then please welcome, for the first time here in the Philippines, we have Lacoste and Tsunami. Take it away, guys.
Thank you so much, Ari. We are so excited for our first match of the day. It's going to be TNC versus Team Spirit. And my panelists, I know you guys are equally excited.
I have been in a coma since January 3rd, so I'm ready to hand out the first DPC points of 2018, of course. And it's a massive arena. I couldn't be more excited.
You were saying this is also the first time you're in the Philippines.
I am. This is, I'd always heard the legends that it was the most passionate Dota fans, the most eager Dota fans, and
also the most hospitable country. Does everyone agree that the Philippines, they are the most hospitable country in the world? They hear us. But Lacoste, tell me about your experience so far.
Yeah, this is my first time in Philippines as well. There's a lot of people in here, a lot of Phoenixes all around, I guess.
The Phoenix Army.
Yeah, pretty much.
That was the first thing we saw on the
yeah,
bus here,
everyone
the
has a
Phoenix
Phoenix
Army.
shirt.
Who is the Phoenix Army? I love Phoenix too, but the hero. Anyways, so our first set of the day is going to be TNC versus Team Spirit. Now, can you guys break it down for me? What do we know about Team Spirit and TNC so far?
Well, Team Spirit, one of the better teams in CIS region. CIS region in general, kind of growing. There's a lot of teams besides VP who's getting direct invites. We have Navi who's back. Navi's back, baby. We have Empire as well, Vega Squadron as well on the rise. So the competition is getting better as time goes by. They are a classic CIS team that loves to do the cookie cutter strategies or just semi-push that transition into late game strats, a lot of heals. So that's pretty much for Team Spirit.
Yeah, and TNC are in kind of a similar rock, paper, scissors power struggle in their region, with CIS having like Navi, Spirit, Empire, Effect, and Vega all kind of battling it out. In Southeast Asia, it's mainly Mineski and Fnatic and our hometown heroes of TNC. And most recently, there was a qualifier block for the next wave of tournaments. So there's ESL1 Katowice, which Fnatic ended up beating out TNC. And then there was the Star Ladder I-League Invitational Season 4, which Mineski beat out TNC. But then the PGL Open Bucharest, TNC came out on top. But in all three of those qualifiers, TNC was in the grand finals. So they've been making a consistent showing. And if there was ever an opportunity for them to show off their power, it's right here at Galaxy Battles.
So we also need to consider that this is going to be CIS Dota versus Southeast Asian Dota. Now, where does this matchup clash?
We don't see it too often because pretty much Virtus.pro was the only team that was playing on the big scene. Sometimes we saw Empire as well, but it's a kind of a clash between two different play styles. Overall, TNC has an advantage of playing on their own court, which is always nice to have a lot of fans, which gives you energy to play.
Tsunami?
Both regions have kind of been characterized as being very kind of raw Dota. It's that was an old stereotype, but I think as Southeast Asia evolved with, again, all these teams competing out for a qualifier place, it's gotten a lot more refined. And TNC have made a much more organized effort as Dota players. And obviously introducing 1437 has given them some more international influence as well, so lessons being taken from all over the place, but it's not as chaotic as Southeast Asia has formerly been characterized by. I'd say TNC, more so than other Southeast Asian teams, are more organized for sure.
So before we even jump into the series, I actually want to hear your predictions on what we're going to actually see from this. Do we see a 2-0? We're going to be seeing a tie?
Overall, I think TNC is a better, more experienced team. They've been together for quite some time, so that's their strength. I would give them advantage, but Team Spirit might shake things around. They're not. They are the underdog in this matchup, of course, but it's always nice to play as an underdog because you got nothing to lose.
So what, 1 for TNC, Tsunami?
I'm going to go with a 2-0 for TNC. Spirit. I'm not just saying that to win over the crowd, although that is easy pickings, but Spirit haven't had the most success in their recent qualifier runs. Like Lacoste was saying, CIS has a lot of teams battling out for that top placement, and Spirit has been coming up short, but both regions are often very unpredictable when it comes to international results, and part of it comes down to the fact that they play such different styles of Dota that they're so entrenched in their own region that sometimes it's difficult to adapt, but I'm still going to give it to TNC.
So let's talk about heroes before we jump into the draft as well. So what heroes are we possibly going to be seeing from both of these teams? Any signature heroes, any strong heroes, something unpredictable that might sneak through?
I want to see Cuckoo SF. That's definitely very high on the list. Spirit are more interested in their support players. FNG and Biver are usually given more priority typically, and so it's less exciting because, Witch Doctors and Banes and stuff like that, it's not quite as flashy. But I have a soft spot for seeing core heroes go off, and so Cuckoo SF is definitely high on that list.
What about Cuckoo and Tinker? What do you say?
I mean, really Cuckoo on anything, as long as they've been protecting him, which lately they've been doing a good job and just kind of making sure that they give Raven some pretty consistent, like a DK or Razor. You know, he'll figure it out. You don't even worry about him. All your resources on making sure that Cuckoo goes off, and Tinker would definitely be a very appealing pick.
Yeah, but Team Spirit is trying to play a style which was kind of popular a couple of years ago. It was kind of CIS classic, as I already mentioned. You have Witch Doctor, who has a lot of heal. That's their hero. Plus, they have a Chen player, a Biver, who also can make a difference. Chen right now is, I would say, one of my top 10 picks because he can disrupt the enemy off lane, enemy safe lane, sorry, with setting back the creeps a couple of times. So pretty much your safe lane is lost when you're playing against the Chen. Also, they have the tendency to get res 5 and push. So kind of a different play style that people are used to see.
Okay, so speaking of junglers, you're saying that Chen is going to be amazing for protecting that safe lane. I want to ask your opinion. Why was junglers ignored for so long?
Because jungle sucks, period. I mean...
There we go, jungle sucks.
What happened to the 30-second creeps? That's what I want to know.
Well, that's the thing, because you can't do anything for the first 30 seconds because creeps spawn at 1 minute mark. Chen can do stuff now. Ench is having a harder time because of that. I mean, Legion Commander is out.
Whoa,
Fuck yeah.
I sense some anger in that.
Well, it's pretty much always in your pub. You have that one raging guy who wants to play Legion Commander
Well,
in jungle.
Can we say maybe Tortellini sort of pushes this? He's got a jungle Legion Commander, but
Listen.
Tortellini, please, just take it off.
That's just crowdsourcing right there. You can't blame him. You give the people what they want, positive or negative. You can't influence the game like that.
I mean, you want to be as influential as possible, so you can snowball. So that's why you don't want to play a jungle. I mean, it's pretty obvious. Plus, you don't get the XP and the gold that you get from the laning stage.
And even Chen becoming more popular. A lot of times, I've been seeing like off-lane Chen gathering some momentum. And so, if your camps get blocked out or something like that, Chen is a hero, much like Enchantress, that you're not 100% dependent on the jungle.
Okay, so speaking after our jungler discussion, let's talk about the mid matchup, because you know mid's typically one of the most high prioritized picks in the game. It determines the momentum of your lineup. Are we going to be seeing any standard bans for mids? Is it Tinkers, Shadow Fiends? What is the mid to get nowadays?
I don't think mid is that highly prioritized as before. You see different kind of strategies coming out from different regions.
Well, speaking of mid slot cost, we actually have a first pick Shadow Fiend, or first phase Shadow Fiend, may I say, on TNC. And Tsunami, you were saying you wanted to see the Cuckoo Shadow Fiend, you got it.
I did, and usually they don't even bother giving him the perk of the cogs. Usually they're like, you know, Cuckoo, he can handle the lane. We don't need to give him any bonus at the beginning, but they do love running Clockwork on TNC. And obviously that's a synergy that comes up right away. And TNC is unique in that they really often, like their pick order is very specific every single time. Like they'll go for some sort of support in the first pick and then they'll immediately follow up with a core. Whereas a lot of Western teams, they usually are more concerned about the 4 and 5 positions because supports are so heavily contested in that region. But TNC don't care. They want to get their comfort heroes and they know that they can bring them to success.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to say. Usually Western teams go for 4 and 5 in the first picking stage. For other regions, especially China, you can just pretty much pick whatever. I mean, Shadow Fiend and Clockwork, if you can get the hands on it, you're not going to miss. Pretty much everyone's going to pick it.
Okay, so also a reminder for people at home, we've got a Tiny ban, a Shadow Shaman ban, a CK ban, and a Brood Mother ban on the side of TNC. Whereas for Team Spirit, they ban out the Bane, Tusk, and the Tinker. So what are your thoughts on those bans? You're saying that Bane was one of the heroes that Team Spirit likes to play, but they've banned it themselves.
So it's just a good pick overall, and one that a lot of people like to send for dual mid options. And so SF is oftentimes one of the heroes that needs that kind of backup, which may be why they went for the Clockwork instead. They were like, okay, instead of sending another hero to babysit you that's super powerful like a Bane, instead let's just give you the bonus damage at the beginning of the game, and maybe we'll have to settle for a somewhat weaker support. And 1437 is obsessed with Bane also, so it doesn't really surprise me.
Very, very true. I'm going to be adding a Rubik to the pool here on the side of TNC, so they've got a very solid support lineup so far.
Yeah, I mean, you have Rubik and Clockwork, a really good synergy between these two. You can throw someone on the cogs or just into the cogs with the lift. On the others, you also have a Sanking. Rubik is one of the better heroes against the Sanking. Overall, no casting animation on the stun. They are going for Bottom as a mid laner. They want to have this mobile hero that is not contested by a Clockwork if it's going to be on a mid lane. So TNC has two position 4/3 heroes, Clockwork and Night Stalker. I'm surprised Night Stalker survived actually for this long. Usually the hero is either banned or first picked in pretty much every region.
So coming in with our next 3 picks, so Mirana, Night Stalker, and the Faceless Void. So Nami, what are your thoughts on this so far?
So sometimes whenever Spirit runs Mirana for ILTW, which I don't know if you know this, but I was told that ILTW means I love to win, but I'm not 100% sure if that's the case.
I don't know.
It makes sense.
It does make
right?
sense. And so like I love that confidence from mid laners. That you need that kind of pure raw charisma where you're just like, I love to win. But they go for a Void. The reason I brought it up is because oftentimes when they pick Mirana, they sometimes run Drow strats. But against a Clockwork, against a Night Stalker, you've got to be pretty stressed out about having a vulnerable carry player like that. And so Void will have issues dealing with Night Stalker silence, and I have fair amount of disable depending on what Rubik steals. Like you can steal Arrow or you can steal Burrow Strike, and if you manage to keep this Faceless Void on lockdown for a while, especially if he has his Mask of Madness enabled, then he's going to blow up to a lot of this burst damage that TNC have. But Spirit have confidence in one position Void. Other teams don't, but we'll see how Spirit makes use of it.
It makes sense though, because you look at TNC's draft so far, they don't really have anything to annoy the Void inside the Chrono. They've only got the lift. They don't have any other sort of disable, any sort of lockdown that can go in there comfortably. It's not, you can't hookshot in there. You might be able to get the cogs off to bounce onto the Void, but outside of that, what are they going to really be able to do? They've got Night Stalker picked up as their 4th hero, you know? So how does TNC approach this sudden chronosphere that is now a big issue?
Well, they have Rubik who can steal the chrono. I mean, Void is not contested by his own chrono. He can still move, but you have a Night Stalker during the nighttime. It's going to be a really hard game for a Void. They can still switch things around, put the Void on and off lane if needed.
Yeah, we'll see how early Spirit want to fight, because obviously the synergy between Death Ward and Chronosphere is immense. And
even Epicenter, you can just channel it, Burrow Strike into the Chronosphere as well.
Exactly, which is why. So I don't really know why Rubiks are constantly keeping it on the offensive null field, because to me it seems like most of the time you should just sit on the defensive on null field, and then you know when you want to play aggressive. You know when you want more magic damage, so you just toggle it whenever you feel that you found initiation, Clockwork found a hook target, Night Stalker's going in on someone. But Rubiks just hate to do that, and so I'm imagining that this null field may not be able to mitigate that much of that epicenter damage as it is supposed to, but it'll depend on how early they manage to get a Blink Dagger on this Sand King.
Yeah, I would love to see some stats about Rubik, how much magic damage he actually nullified with it.
These days it's so little.
Well,
I always see it on the red.
Everyone actually wants to see stats like this. It's not, the magic damage nullified, also Bounty Hunter gold. I think that's the one that everyone's been asking for a long time, and we still haven't got stats on how much gold Bounty gives you.
Also illusion damage, especially when you're playing against heroes like Terrorblade, Naga Siren. That's a lot of gold from those illusions. You don't think about it, but if you sum it up at the end of the game, sometimes it goes over 2k.
So we've got our first final ban of the game. It's going to be Lifestealer on the side of Team Spirit. Looking for one more ban here for TNC. Is there any heroes that really stick out that TNC need to ban for this last pick?
I do think it's Illidan Void, but you did bring up that it could be an offlane Void. But then the question is, like, Sand King and Witch Doctor are a pretty solid roaming combination. I guess we'll see with this pick. Brewmaster. So still probably going to be like a 4-position Sand King, and then offlane Brew.
Yeah, it's a position 4 Sand King, offlane Brew, Void as 1.
Don't really have a good way to justify that Brewmaster pick. I mean, it's going to be very irritating in whoever's lane he's put in, but like, what one position have they chosen on TNC? Like, they'll be able to get someone who is okay. No one's really okay with being drunk and hazed all day long.
Yeah, but picking Brewmaster into clock is kind of suicidal because
Yeah, you can't get
because
the
of the
primal
cogs.
split.
Yeah, you can't primal split and battery assault. But I guess they wanted a second hero that needs to be focused from that silence from a Night Stalker maybe as well, so Void can be free in those fights. I mean, Void can still build. It's going to be position 1 Void, so he's going to get a lot of farm, so that Manta style will come pretty soon on him.
So we're going to be seeing a final pick here for TNC momentarily.
Wouldn't surprise me to see like a.
Here we go. It's going to be Razor. So overall, how did the drafts look to you guys? Do you feel that there's anything that you really agree with? Anything that you think is a bit quirky?
The Brewmaster I have difficulty justifying, both because, like Lacoste mentioned, battery assault just makes life hell if you're trying to get a primal split off, and if Razor is in the safe lane,
Even a Rubik could steal the primal split, so it could be completely turned on top of you as well.
And it's not another thing that you can put into a Chronosphere. It's not more damage you can put into a Chronosphere. You can distract someone, but if you go for a team fight heavy ultimate like that, then you usually want to pour damage into it. So I prefer TNC's draft.
Yeah, I would agree on that one. They still have enough combo with the Void, especially from Witch Doctor and the Sanking. They just needed more control in those team fights with a Panda, but it's going to be a lot on the shoulders of a Panda. We'll see how it goes.
Okay, so it looks like we're going to be jumping into the game right now. We're going to throw it over to our casters, Lumi and Lyrical. Take it away for game 1 of this series.
Thank you so much, Danny. And we're going to be here. Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome back. We're here taking a look at game number 1, TNC facing off against Spirit. Lumi, my man, we've been waiting for this one for a while. To me, at least, this feels like it's one of the best matchups that we've got here on day number 1. What do you think about these two teams?
TNC has been on pretty big upswing as of late. The panel talked about the power struggle of the C triangle between TNC, Mineski, as well as Fnatic. At least in the last couple of days, TNC has been on an upswing, qualifying for some events. But specifically about this game, Shadow Fiend, they have an over 90% win rate on this hero in the last 10 games. I think they only dropped a single game to Geek Fam. So it's a hero that they're extremely comfortable with. And not only that, they have the Clockwork buff for the Shadow Fiend. So you can see that he is already getting a ton of plus damage as we speak.
Oh,
this Mirana is going to have a little trouble laning against it in the mid lane.
I mean, you say that he's coming in with a lot of plus damage. There's a couple of actually souls missed this last time around. Shadow Fiend is coming in right now with only 12. Usually if you go for the full assortment there, you can get 15. But regardless, they are going to be able to start out with a nice little bit of it. Bounty runes being traded off by each of these heroes.
The TNC is going to lose out on all 4 bounty runes. This is not something you see frequently on. And that is one of the downside of running this Shadow Fiend Clockwork strategy, because you have to dedicate 3 heroes to actually make sure that he gets a soul. So nicely punished by Team Spirit.
And a little bit of a Burrow Strike coming through there as well. Going to force back the Rubik. Also worth noting there that you start off with the Bracer first on Cuckoo. Is that sort of the natural way that he's been playing the Shadow Fiends?
No, he generally goes for the Wraith Band and into the Ring of Aquila. But it does make sense that he goes Bracer here because he doesn't need the Wraith Band damage because he gets it from Clockwork. He always goes Strums anyways, and the extra HP is going to be vital in the laning stage.
All right, good stuff to watch out for there, as we do have FNG as well as ILTW mid lane going to try and do their best to harass away this Shadow Fiend to make sure he doesn't have a free time. Up top, it's going to be basically a one-on-one. How do you think about this matchup works with the Faceless Void and the Night Stalker squaring off?
I think the Void is going to win the lane. Generally, he does very well in the 1v1 spot. Night Stalker isn't really looking to win the lane per se. He's looking to get some early farm, maybe grab boots, phase boots even, and then look to just start ganking at level minute 4.
Man, they're putting so much emphasis here on this mid lane and shutting down the Shadow Fiend. Actually going to bring in another. The arrow flying out, able to be dodged there by Tims. So they do keep him alive for the moment, and Shadow Fiend just doing his best. This 1437 even comes in. It's just a 6-on-6 here, 6 heroes in the mid lane.
Classic tri-lane mid. I mean, so far the supports are doing a very good job allowing the Mirana to actually get off the last hit. Burrow Strike up.
Another chance. The Maledict is down. Onto one. Jumping forward. Arrow connects. Shadow Fiend goes down. First blood here. The Galaxy battles too.
And this is generally how you beat the mid lane Shadow Fiend that is getting Clockwork buff. You pressure him super hard, you kill him once, and all of a sudden he loses a bunch of soul and does the right click damage. TNC surprisingly losing this mid lane, given that they had both Clockwork and Rubik here.
Yeah, this is a lot of damage coming out to their strategy as a whole, because as the panel talked about, as you were talking about earlier, the Shadow Fiend is so integral to their ability to scale into the later stages. Granted, he is a hero that can catch up later on. As down bottom, there's going to be a little bit of a static link going as Raven put the hurt right now to DK Phobos. He does manage to get off that mischance, but 2 hits goes through it and maybe could go for another. That's a lot of damage put out there as the salve is used.
Sand King swings around, looks like he's gonna set up a kill here.
Another chance, Maledict down right at the start. Shadow Fiend caught yet again, and Cuckoo in trouble. He does have a salve and is gonna try and actually turn this now, running straight up ahead here. And Viber, he takes him down, might be able to live through it. Salves up for the finish. FNG goes down as well. TNC fight back in a big way.
He will get his salve canceled thanks to the Caustic Finale, but that was well worth it here. Good rotation coming in from the Clockwork, and Tims did exactly what he needed to do, kind of separate the fight away from, the Sand King away from the rest. Now he might be in a little bit of trouble, but Tims, I think it's well worth it to make sure that Cuckoo does not die.
Yeah, definitely, as he is going to be running back. It looks like he's going to die, but we'll be out of experience range for those other heroes, which is very, very important.
Oh, he survives. Level Maledict doesn't actually do anything.
Seeing that replay right now as well, just Cuckoo realizing, doing the math, and how they're able to take advantage, just finding 2 kills there mid. So far, do you feel like there's a side that is more comfortable with the way that this game has gone so far? You take a look at the CS, and Shadow Fiend is definitely hurting.
He is, but Shadow Fiend's one of those heroes that could catch back up really fast, and I don't think he's hurting enough. I think TNC is very comfortable with how the game's going. Something that I really want to talk about before this mid-game happened is look at the cooldown of Team Spirit. They're operating with Chronosphere, the Brewmaster split. So basically, they pretty much have to do a lot with those long cooldowns, whereas if you comparatively look at TNC's cooldown, they could pretty much fight whenever. So I think that is going to be a big edge going to them in this mid-game.
Oh, this Boots Razor is going to start to run down and steal a lot of damage from that Witch Doctor. Wasn't able to find any type of a kill, but meanwhile, top lane, they're going in on this Faceless Void. The silence is there. Tim is in the area. Battery Salt just outside of range. Can't Illidan get out of there. He does manage to time walk, but the chase, it's coming. They're there. They've got the damage, and Hunter in the Night finds the kill. Level 5 on the Night Stalker.
I really like this gank. Normally, you expect the Night Stalker to be leaving the lane and ganking a different one, but instead they rotate a hero in to gank his lane, and Faceless Void definitely did not see that one coming.
Absolutely. Well, FNG is still hiding out here in the trees and trying to push back the Shadow Fiend, the Rubik, behind their tower, as they are definitely being harassed. But as you said, there's a lot of catch-up potential there. As meanwhile, top lane, they find him yet again. Void should be able to play his way out of this one. Tims is still pretty far forward and fairly low in HP, but there's not really much that a Void can do to punish that.
Yeah, you kind of had to sit here and just tank the beating for a little bit.
Well, I mean, do they want to keep going? You do have stick charges on this Night Stalker. But it looks like with the rotation coming in, a good scan from the Radiant, they realize that people are coming in, pop the cogs, run away. The cask will bounce, but TNC dodging the gank.
Yep. The 2 Team Spear supports, because they've been sitting on the mid lane for such a long time, they're so low level. And this is especially important for Sand King, right? His Burrow Strike cast range is so pitiful because he's only level 2. And I think it is the downside of like doing a tri-lane mid. And honestly, they haven't got too much out of that tri-lane, right? Shadow Fiend is still doing fine. I mean, they kill him once, but I don't think that's enough to justify what they're doing right now.
And it really does feel like this Night Stalker might be an X factor here. Sam H is level 6, topping the CS charts. He's got phase boots
That's
now.
crazy, right?
Like,
yeah.
He is just going to be a terror throughout this nighttime and whatever is left of it, and then also the second one that comes around.
I mean, there's a lot of like attention on the more flashy player of like Cuckoo and Raven, but Sam H routinely carries a team from the off lane, which is something that you don't often see. Looks like we're going to make another go on Illidan in top lane. He should be fine. In fact, he has a Chronosphere.
Yeah, if they get a little bit too far forward, Viber's here as well as they're moving in around Sam H. It's a really hard kill to try and find, but the Burrow Strike is going to be there. They can't do anything. They need so much more damage. And in fact, on the other side, Raven ends up going down, but they're also trying to dive forward for this. Tims trying to chase down Viber. He's running away. Another Burrow Strike is there. He's going to be able to turn it, but should still end up falling. Chronosphere, maybe a turnaround here as well as FNG is in the area. They're starting to bring him down, and with the healing ward, that's actually going to keep the Sand King alive for a second longer, but Sam H puts the kibosh on that.
Yeah, unfortunately, that was a level 1 Voodoo Restoration. Night Stalker did the math and just nuked him down with the Void.
Yeah, level 7, 4 points in Void. It's a pretty high damage nuke. Not one that you always think about, but with this off-lane Night Stalker, it's really becoming a problem.
Yep. Now Raven's actually poured up top. They did kill that Berserker Ward before Raven showed himself to it, so they're going to make another go. The nuke's not going to hit here, and Illidan should be okay. He should be able to jump into the trees and be just fine. They do have the flying skill, though.
Yeah, they have another plasma field in a second, so Illidan, they just blow him up. Too much damage coming in. Now they're bringing in the Sand King and the Witch Doctor. They are doing a lot of damage here to try and turn it back around. Maledict is going as well. Sam H trying to run away. He still has his phase boots available. They turn to fight. They take him down. Fiverr also in trouble. They're able to turn out the cogs, and they are going to be able to almost find the kill. Fiverr ran away, and there's going to be the nuke for the finish.
I think Razor is definitely one of the best heroes you could pick if you're looking to play aggressive. I mean, just look at him. He was under the tier 1 tower with a Maledict on him, and he took a bunch of damage, but still just fought his way through it. ILTW able to pick up a kill on the backswing against Clockwork, which, by the way, his name does not stand for I love to win. In fact, I used to call him that, and in one of the events, Vlad walked over to me, tapped me on the shoulder, but like, does not stand for it. So,
oh no.
I don't know what it does stand for, but it's just ILTW.
All right, there you go. I guess that's what we're going to call him then. Man, so yeah, that rotation back up there as well, you can see here right at the end of it, it was almost going to be so solid, but they just don't have enough damage right now, and it speaks to what you were talking about earlier, the under-leveled supports because of that tri-lane mid.
Yeah, I think there was a TP trying to come in the beginning of that fight. I believe that was from the Brewmaster, but nicely canceled. Up on the top lane again, Illidan silenced up, but he will be jumping back.
God, it doesn't feel good right now to play this Void. Has the Ring of Health as well as Gloves of Haste, and just a pretty broke guy right now. But, I mean, with that Chronosphere, you can maybe think of making a rotation or something. Like, how do you start to right the ship a little bit for Team Spirit as far as getting this Void back in the game?
I think it's, I mean, he can make those rotations, but there's not too much damage to throw into the Chronosphere right now, right? What the panel talked about with the Epicenter, with the Death Ward, well, you need those heroes to actually have those spells right now, which they don't. So I think Illidan just have to sit here and just wait and farm a little bit. Wait until the rest of his team catch up. Because right now, if he leaves the lane and go for a Chrono, not only will that Chrono not do that much, they will also just lose the tier 1 tower as a result.
Okay. Well, another nighttime used as Sam H spots FNG and is just going to bully this guy, running right at him. They take him down, and, well, maybe a little bit too big for his britches. Sam H caught out. He's going to drop. Illidan finds the kill.
Definitely not worth for TNC there, but I think the last 5 or 6 minutes we've been looking at this top lane for so long. Don't forget that Cuckoo is essentially getting free farm throughout all of this. He has not been bothered at all.
Right. Meanwhile, bottom lane, 1437 going to get ran at, and ILTW putting the hurt on him. 8-7, a lot of action in this early stage of game number 1.
You can always tell if a Mirana is having a really great game if he's able to actually just walk around and pick up a ton of early kills. We're accustomed to seeing Mirana being this kind of late game carry, but look at how active he has been. He will miss the arrow here, and Raven with his phase boost should be able to walk out just fine. But ILTW is having a pretty excellent game in my opinion.
Definitely the standout player so far in this one for Team Spirit, and has been able to make a lot happen around the map, considering he was the beneficiary of that good start. He needs to make that happen constantly.
Ooh, check out Night Stalker's inventory. Is that a Shadow Blade coming from the position 3 Night Stalker? That is not something you see often at all.
That is pretty scary. I mean, just even the extra damage right there can make the difference sometimes. Moonlight Shadow's going to be there as they're looking inside the Radiant vision. They've got themselves Cuckoo. He's in a little bit of trouble looking for the arrow. It's not going to connect. It's pretty far away. Rubik actually able to steal that arrow as Tim's trying to find LTW, but the Moonlight Shadow will keep him safe.
Yeah. So speaking of Shadow Blade, TNC as a team just loves this item. I haven't seen them getting it on Night Stalker before. Well, we haven't really even seen Night Stalker that much as he's always fanned out. Hold that thought, Raven gonna get ganked up here, but he is gonna be quite tanky.
Level 9 on Phobos though, so they can pop the ulti if they want to. They're gonna do just that as they turn to fight, and Raze, they're just gonna get epicentered and
they do everything on him.
They were not messing around. And top lane, Sam H is kind of getting to a point now where he can't pull this Void anymore. They're needing to keep the rest of the heroes in other lanes.
He can't by himself, but you know, with the +1 or maybe even +2, I think they could definitely force a kill. But going back to the Shadow Blade, for example, Shadow Fiend also really likes to get it on Cuckoo. Generally, he does get the Shadow Blade when he's going for a physical Shadow Fiend build, which so far we haven't had any big indication of what kind of build he's going to go for, whether it's a magical or a physical one. He generally likes to go drum for essentially both.
Well, TNC going to move forward now after the ward was taken away. There was still a dire ward in the area, and that spotted these rotations coming in as Brewmaster is designed to make the rotation also up to the top. Does not have split for 85 seconds in 1437. Woo! All right, they're just going to drop the Chronosphere right on the Rubik. So that guy's dead, but I'm feeling the rest of TNC will get out.
I think if you're TNC, you're not too unhappy with what's happening, right? They just used a Brew split. They were able to get a Razor kill. That's not good for TNC, but that Chronosphere so far haven't accomplished anything. You just got a Rubik. The one thing that Team Spirit does have going for them is that right now Radiant is standing right on top of this ward, so Team Spirit would have a good idea whether they should take this fight or not.
And meanwhile, while you see all of the heroes right now of TNC in the top lane pretty much, except for Rubik who just respawned, the hookshot coming in, able to find the Void, push back, silence as well. This is looking pretty good for them. Can they burn him down in the duration? Yes, indeed they will. Illidan falls, and TNC, they're going to get this tower.
And this is kind of what I meant earlier when I said Team Spirit just have really long cooldowns, so they have to use it very sparingly. They need to get a lot out of these cooldowns. And so far, apart from the Brewmaster kill on the Razor, I think TNC just having the tempo advantage in this game. ILTW though is fighting back and will get a bottom tier 1.
And this is what you want to do right now if you're Team Spirit. You see that they're grouping together as 5. You guys make the rotations and push the other lanes. It's 1437 spotting out Biver. The turnaround there with the Bro Strike. Epicenter as well. Well, he lifted him, but never had a little bit more damage.
I'm really impressed with Sanking's recovery in this game. Remember when I said that he was level 2 when it was like 5 minutes in the game? He's gotten a ton of kills for the team since, and he's very close to the Blink Dagger, even buying things like dust stuff and wards for the team while doing so.
Well played so far there, and like you said, the Blink is there for the Brewmaster as he's getting close to it on the Sand King, and if those items start to come online very early on here, they don't even need the Void to be there in the fights, and he's going for that Battle Fury this entire time too. If this is Lincoln's as the hookshot's gonna go in now, they get the pushback, Phobos pops the ulti. Spiver's able to get away from that one actually. The Witch Doctor ultimate, this has gone terrible for TNC. They lift up on 437, he does manage to get the Burrow Strike to the high grounds, but a costly one at that.
The Clockwork Hook looked like it came a little bit too fast, not kind of chaining the disables together. When he hooked in, I do believe the Sand King was still silenced. But Raven?
They popped the ulti. He's getting hit by the ultimate right there as well as FNG. No death ward for the moment. They're going to take down this Razor though as Sam H trying to jump in there and maybe turn it back around, but he's only able to get a return kill as everybody from Team Spirit is there. Cuckoo thought about it.
Looks like we are going to see a physical Shadow Fiend build from Cuckoo. The one thing that is really nice for magical Shadow Fiend this game is that you do get a Hex very early on, and I do feel like TNC does want a little bit more disable, because something that the panel does go out on is, you know, you gotta kill the Void, you gotta kill the Brewmaster, and the Mirana. There's a lot of ways for them to survive and get away. And for that reason, I thought he was gonna go for the Hex just to give them such a pretty guaranteed disable. But instead, he's gonna go for the right click build.
Well, the nice part is that at least for a little while until the Manta comes out for the Mirana, you're going to be able to get some nice disable from the Night Stalker. He's got so many levels early on, and the Shadow Blade is great for initiation. That being said, Team Spirit have been playing well around it for the past couple of minutes. They haven't gotten really picked off by anybody. There's a Smoke Ink that's going to be coming now as they head up to the top lane, but nobody's really home. It's just Fiverr up here, and he's not even really there yet. Wraparound though. Moonlight Shadow, arrow goes out. They do drop a Sentry Ward, so they're prepared for this movement if they go into the jungle. LTW there as well. Phobos is going to be the first one forward. His Brew Split, it's about to come off cooldown as well. Sam H, Shadow Blades. And it looks like they might decide to go on to him here as Rubik's going to go forward. They have the lift. There's going to be the pullback in. Nice combination there as they'll get the pick off.
Tim's with the kill secure rocket. I like it from afar. He's actually maxed the rocket build, which is not something you see too often, but looking like with the Soul Ring combination, he's just looking to make sure the lanes are not too pushed, and he could rocket pretty much every time that it comes off cooldown. As the observer is showing us, the Battle Fury is finally finished. And the one impressive thing I've seen about Illidan's play in this game so far is, despite the fact that he's being pressured so much, he's keeping up with the Shadow Fiend's farm.
Yeah.
And that's really impressive as a Faceless Void that's been, you know, dying and being doved upon so much.
I mean, that's the thing. Cuckoo has died 1 time.
Yep.
And this is a Faceless Void that's died 3 times and also been involved in 5 kills.
Yeah.
Like, he's definitely been active but still maintaining that farm. Very impressive.
I feel like perhaps Cuckoo is the one that's not up to his usual standards. I mean, we sung praises about his Shadow Fiend, but honestly, I feel like his farm is a little bit slow right now.
Sam H. Spotting out the Sand King, gonna go for it immediately, but doesn't find silence. I mean, just that initiation though, brought him down to half HP. As Raven runs into FNG, Smoke hasn't broken yet. They have to blink, there's gonna be the catch, and with that ulti, they might be able to run down this Razor, as there's just no way he's getting out of there. Raven goes down yet again to the Maledict.
Yeah. And Faceless Void coming in from the
Oh my
backside.
God, they're going for more. Illidan's going in on this right now. They fully encapsulate him and take down Tim's. 11 to 14. It's 1,000 gold lead for Team Spirit. They're trying pickoff after pickoff.
Yeah. Not only that, they're not losing any towers while they're making these pickoff. ILTW have been doing such an excellent job. He's been constantly pushing bottom, and now he's middle to protect away from being pushed into the tier 2. So far, at least in the mid game, Team Spirit has been, to me, the one that's getting the slight edge in most of the team fights.
Yeah, definitely. And it only feels like, I mean, that's with the Battle Fury as Faceless Void yet again. Like, Shadow Fiend, when does he start to get involved in these fights? What does he need?
He needs the BKB, which he's working on right now, but by the time he has the BKB, I feel like that's where Faceless Void is also ready to fight, and Chronosphere is definitely a good enough counter. I mean, if you could just waste that 10-second duration of the BKB, take the Chrono, and then either try to kill him or the rest of his teammates, that could be still a pretty decent fight for Team Spirit.
Another pickoff there. Just the high mobility from Team Spirit. They go for the hook shot, but he's leaping out. They're not going to be able to catch up to these guys, I don't think. They do have another Burrow Strike from Sand King, as well as a Blink Dagger off cooldown soon. And while all this chase is going down, top lane is being pushed in by Illidan.
Yeah.
They're going to try and go for this further forward. Viber gets the Burrow Strike. He is going to end up going down, but the arrow in ILTW looks like he should be able to escape from this. One more leap is there, as well as a Manta style, as the Void is going to come out trying to get the right clicks, but they know this is too far, and they're losing the tier 2 tower.
Yep, and they're really gaining only a tier 1, which is still not bad, but TNC, again, on the back foot. And we have gone to that stage that you were mentioning there ago where, well, the Manta style's finished. Where is the guaranteed lockdown against this Mirana? There isn't any.
Shadow Fiend gonna TP into that. They just pop the ulti to run away, and maybe even gonna be able to find a kill while this is happening. Tim's, he does get the push off, but he's already taken a lot of damage. The Shrine might be able to heal him up enough. It's a lot of Maledict damage. They're running away. He is still living through this for the moment, but it was never gonna be enough. And Sam H now also turning onto that Void, who manages to get out under the cover of the Moonlight Shadow. Team Spirit is just come into this arena and is starting to roll TNC.
Yeah, Team Spirit has been moving much more efficiently. They're doing more with less hero in each part of the map. And I do feel like TNC is a team that's trying to react with all these rotations. And they're not able to punish Team Spirit's cooldown either, because Team Spirit has actually staggered the cooldown very well. They're holding to Chrono, and then, you know, once Chrono is ready to go, then they use a Bruce Split, and vice versa. Top lane Cuckoo gonna get jumped.
Oh no, and the epicenter comes in yet again. He's gonna try and go for the Requiem, but the cast comes in at the last second to interrupt that, and you know, Cuckoo thinking that he needs to go for more of this farming has gone for the Sanjin Yasha before he finishes the BKB.
Yeah, the treads, drums, SMY, that's pretty much the standard prelude to a physical build on the Shadow Fiend. But the problem is that the fights are being taken to him right now, and he really needs the BKB to even do a thing in these fights.
And now queuing up the Shadow Blade next. He's maybe anticipating that there could be problems dealing with this Chronosphere later on down the lines, and the only other option is just don't get chronoed.
Yeah, I think he understands that if he gets a BKB, he might survive, but the BKB is not really helping him to win the fight. So with this Shadow Blade pickup, what TNC is looking to do is not take team fights at all and just try to play the map game. Split up Team Spirit, try to get a pick off here and there.
Well, ILTW silenced. They still have the Manta, the Burrow Strike, the turnaround, in trouble. Chrono on to 3. They're all going to start to fall. They have a ton of damage here for the Razor. He's going to end up dropping. And now the casks are going back and forth. They've caught themselves the clockwork. Nowhere left to go. Burrow Strike again. Team Spirit are just rolling them right now.
And these Chronosphere has been doing so much. I think the first one in the game was on, was it Rubik? And since then, every Chronosphere has gotten them a big teamfight victory or a big objective. We're going to see this one more time. And honestly, if you look at that initiation, SamH knew that there's no way they're actually going to kill the Mirana, right? Because they have the Mantis out, but still they decided to make that play. And as a result, they just got collapsed on very hard.
My goodness, 8,000 gold lead right now here at 22 minutes. It's been a barn burner. You know, you got 32 kills in 22 minutes as well, but this pace of the game and those Blink Daggers coming online are really showing that Team Spirit have built a lineup that's ready to fight right now.
Not only that, Illidan is now closing it, well, he has a Mantis out finished, so again, you look to your Night Stalker being your most reliable disable, that is no longer the case. So I'm not even sure how Team Spirit, let alone win a team fight, but how are they gonna, you know, get kills?
Right.
They're going to take advantage of the fact that Team Spirit doesn't have the cooldowns right now, but again, there's still Brewmaster split, so this is going to be a really hard team fight for TNC.
Roche is down to very low HP, and maybe if they can take this fight right now, they find the Sand King. That's a good initiation and a way to start off. They blow him up, the Clockwork, Hookshine in as well. TNC is starting to put something together here. The Requiem comes out as well. They're going to bring down FNG, but they lift up Cuckoo in the sphere, and now trying to run away yet again. They have this Brew Split that's just doing so much work, and now they're controlling Cuckoo as well. It's turned around again for them as Illidan is going to jump forward again in a second. They've got the leaps. They might have the damage, and it's going to blow him up. Cuckoo goes down, but a buyback now from the Night Stalker.
Roshan's very low. Raven goes for the steal, but he's not going to be able to get it. Tim's trapped inside with DK Phobos. DK Phobos going to just strike him down. So far, they're not really winning this of him. Raven, though, gets a kill on the Mirana.
Yeah, now trying to man up here against Illidan. The Manta style to pop it and turn around. They do have numbers right now. They could think about going back in for Roche, but without Cuckoo.
Dude, they have enough damage.
Yeah.
TNC needs to get this Roche because they bought back on both the Clockwork and the SamH Night Stalker. They've made the investment, and I'm not sure if it's going to pay off here.
Well, and Illidan can just walk back in for a moment. He's going to try and, I guess, Dryagro realized that he can't actually go for it. So Roche is defended, but it cost a couple buybacks. And just look at that graph. The swing down into the favor of Team Spirit has been immense.
Yeah. Shadow Fiend's back up in 10 seconds. I don't think they're able to make a Roshan sneaky play or anything like that. In fact, it's going to be Team Spirit going back in. Now, of course, Rocket Flare will be constantly checking out, seeing Roshan's HP. They do have the Clockwork Hook, so maybe they could make a steal attempt. It does feel like they need something big here.
Yeah, they're going for it right now. The catch onto the Sand King has been a great way to start these fights. The Chronosphere, it's only onto the Rubik. This is great right now for TNC as they're trying to find the finish. But again, the lift up of the Shadow Fiend, it's so hard to take this fight. The hook shot to try and turn it. It catches onto 2, but can they kill him off? There's still not enough damage. And another lift up onto Cuckoo. He's been in the air more than he's been on the ground as they try and turn this back around. And now another jump away. Team Spirit is just so mobile. They can get away from them every time. Another jump forward now. Can they find and kill off Illidan? They're going to be able to find the silence. He might be in trouble now. Can they run him down? The silence is there. Requiem, they got the kill.
Don't forget the big objective they're fighting over right now is Roshan. It does seem like TNC will be able to get it. They're going to actually pop the shrine up. ILTW just keeping scope on the things, and we're going to see a pause. This is a very intense moment right now, Lyrical.
This is crazy. Tim's is not saying Team Spirit, he's saying Team Speak, I think, as they try and sort out the issues that are going on right there. But yeah, Insanity those last couple of minutes. Are they in a position now where they can take Roshan? Do you think about buying back on the Void to come and contest again?
Well, they have Sand King coming back in about a couple seconds. I mean, Sand King has died twice before the fights actually happen, right?
Yeah.
So he has pretty much all the cooldown available. I think with the Sand King Epicenter, they should be able to just like kill them if they go for the Roche. It comes down to whether TNC is going to go for it, and I think TNC has to go for it given how much they have lost with the buybacks and everything.
Well, they don't have Eye of the Storm for that extra little bit of armor reduction. They do have the Shadow Fiend presence.
Here comes that Sand King. They see him. They have
need
the
to
ward.
pop drums. They got to do this as quick as possible. The jump in though. The Burrow Strike to try and turn it. They're going to take him down. Shadow Fiend goes down. Roche still lives.
very low.
ILTW ILTW, are they going to be able to get it? They snatch the Aegis. Raven gets out of there for the moment, but Sam H is going to go down, and now 1437 might be the next to fall. They take him, no, Sandstorm, he's still dead. But they get the Aegis. They didn't get the Roche kill.
Yeah, this is looking more and more like a Pyrrhic victory. I mean, the craziest thing is that they had this war, right? They saw Sand King porting in, and still they got blindsided by the result. We're going to see that engagement one more time. Of course, Razor, I guess, cutting their losses, able to steal the Roshan and force staff himself out, but they lose Night Stalker. That's a dieback on him. They lose the Shadow Fiend one more time. And of course, they lose the Sand King on the way out as well. These losses are really cutting into TNC.
Well, and I'm wondering right now, too, if your Shadow Fiend maybe popped the drums there or something, they could have gotten that kill a little bit quicker. It was just like by the skin of their teeth, so many things.
Yeah.
But 11,000 net worth lead right now for Team Spirit. For TNC, do things start to get easier at any point, or are they going to be playing from behind for the rest of this game?
They just need to take really smart fights. And to answer your question, yes, they are going to be behind for a majority of this game. Because right now, Team Spirit right-click harder, they team fight much better. And with the Brewmaster in particular, I know that Tsunami wasn't too big of a fan of the last pick Brewmaster. It's doing a ton this game, especially due to the fact that Shadow Fiend hasn't really picked up BKB. In fact, he's going for a blink. And I definitely could see where Raven is going with his thought process. It's like, look, if I BKB, I get Chrono anyways. I just need to outmaneuver and outposition Team Spirit. But Team Spirit is looking like, you know, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragons. They're just flying everywhere. I don't know if you could outposition this team.
Yeah, and maybe the thought too is that you could like get a lift into a Requiem and blow somebody up right at the start of the fight, but there's so much disable here. It's incredibly hard to actually find that initiation. And well, Team Spirit, in spite of that Aegis on the Razor, they push into the top lane, or rather bottom lane, and force everybody pretty much from TNC back. It's still split pushing from Cuckoo as he wants to try and get some damage onto that tower.
Yeah, that is the one nice thing that you could get from this build that Cuckoo has built up. He's incredibly hard to catch if he doesn't get initiated on. He's super fast, and he can go on for the split push, but of course he is as frail as a paper if he gets caught.
Yeah, which we've seen in each of these fights. He goes down just so rapidly. And, well, TNC back in their base. They're going to smoke up now as 4, rather 5, and see if they can make something happen. There is a scan from the Dire and a scan from the Radiant. They see that they're over by the Ancients. Now heading away to the other side. Witch Doctor in the mid. I don't know if you really want to fully commit for this kill. They're going to go in for it, and they will find FNG and kill him off.
If they could get out right now, that's actually not bad. And I'll talk about why it's not bad in a bit. I'm not sure if they're getting out, actually.
Tims sees them. The counter initiation play could be there, but the Chrono, it's onto 2 yet again, and they're going to be able to fully take down the Shadow Fiend before he's almost even out of that one. Raven trying to turn this one. Sam H is down really low. He got the Requiem off, and the Death Requiem coming as well, but the only one that's ended up dying so far is the Witch Doctor, and Team Spirit are just going to chase this down. Raven trying to run, and we'll see if they can kill him off twice, but at least once is definitely going to be going their favor.
He has the Force Staff up in about 5 seconds.
They have hook shot.
Okay.
Counterplay, maybe a chance at it. They're thinking about it. They have the hook shot available. They're going to throw out the cogs, and now Tim's maybe going to use it to try and get out of there, but Raven's still running, and well, he's going to get ran down, it looks like, is Illidan. Oh, the TP away? Is there a chance? No. They take down just about everybody.
Yeah, Tim did everything he can. He even made it out, which is the impressive thing, but they lose yet another team fight. So if they were able to catch a Witch Doctor and just disengage, I mean, all TNC wants to do right now is buy time, drag this game out, and hope for a late game victory. That would have been fine, but unfortunately, the path that he took to run back was right into Illidan, and he was able to get off a beautiful Chronosphere.
Yeah. Sam H flirting with danger here. He's going to punch him, but there's a Burrow Strike brought down low. Sam H is just about to go down if he's not careful, and they're going to chase forward for it. This game looks like it's close to over, honestly. This is just a beatdown happening right here.
Yeah. TNC looking to defend, but there's no defending against this Mirana, which has been hugely impactful, starting from minute 1 all the way to now. ILTW has won, or did very well in this lane, won the early game for the team through his rotation, And in these team fights, just been a complete menace to the backline of TNC.
Well, they're going to pop the ulti. The initiation is there, but already all of his mana gone. Tim's is dead. They do manage to blink out with the Shadow Fiend, but in the meantime, their racks are falling as Cuckoo going to go for the Requiem, immediately interrupted, and now going to be forced out forward. He's going to end up being brought down. Also another death. They have buyback, but what are you really using it for at this point? A lift up onto the Faceless Void to try and get him away, but they're still going to take down the Razor. 2 lanes down, 1 more remaining. Team Spirit dominant in game number 1.
Yeah. You know, this game is a very rare scenario where neither of the superstar core of TNC has shown up and played Dota, right? Both Raven and Cuckoo has, to me, had a very lackluster game. Honestly, Sam H has been the one that's lifting the team by the shoulder, but you can't really expect to do too much with a position 3 Night Stalker. I think moving into game 2, TNC really need to think about how to enable at least one of their 2 cores, if not both.
Well, and that's the thing that was crazy, right? You put so much emphasis on this with the Clockwork pick to feed him souls early on, and then you end up sticking both of the supports down there through the early levels. I guess I'm not even really sure what else you do to try and enable Cuckoo. Maybe you try and enable Raven in the next game and let Cuckoo fend for himself?
Actually, I think that TNC got the early game exactly how they wanted, right?
Okay.
Shadow Fiend did okay in his lane. Raven had a complete free farm against the Brewmaster. I mean, as cores go, that's generally how you want to start the game. To me, the problem really was the mid game. It was Team Spirit that got the better positioning every time. They were able to rotate before TNC. TNC, like, they need to send 4 heroes to do what Team Spirit needed to send 3 with. So I just think that the mid game is where TNC struggled.
Well, Clockwork trying to turn this one around, but Phobos is going to pop the ulti, and Shadow Fiend just has not had a game of Dota 2. They're going to throw another epicenter. Tim's starting to fall also. He's gone. You leave your base, you die immediately. This Team Spirit lineup is they're going to run at the final tier 3 tower here in the top lane, and most likely take it as help is called from Raven. Please help me. And well, Lumi, good game, well played is called. Felt like it's happening for a while.
Very strong and impressive Team Spirit shown here, and a lot of people think coming into this event it's going to be a toss-up between TNC, OG, and EG.
Yeah.
And Team Spirit is like, hey guys, don't forget our boss. And they just, this was a trouncing, right? Spanking the butt right in front of the home crowd of TNC.
Yeah. I mean, thinking about the way that this goes going into game number 2, we talked about maybe enabling cores, but there's a lot more to think about too, like those blink daggers early, it was really an issue. But we're going to send it over to the analysts now to see what they thought about that game before we get into game number 2.
Much Lumi. That's going to be our first game done and dusted, and Team Spirit take that first game.
Yeah, the laning stage went well for TNC. They won mid lane, which was pretty much obvious because you have Shadow Fiend and Clockwork, but Mirana did surprisingly well there. She was pretty much static at the lane, but then she made the rotations. I'm surprised that they actually managed to win this game with zero vision heroes. On the other side, you have a Clockwork, you have a Night Stalker who also had a Shadow Blade, which is pretty unusual. It's kind of a sexy bamboo build. When you have a lot of farm, you want to disrupt into the enemy backline and maybe catch a Panda, but Panda was pretty much the MVP of this game because a lot of attention was drawn from bottom lane to the top. They wanted to pressure the Void, especially since they had Night Stalker, who's pretty active early on. This gave Panda a lot of time to farm his Blink Dagger.
Okay, so we're also going to be rolling the highlights as we continue our discussion. So Tsunami, was there anything else that you wanted to add to Lacoste?
Both you and me were very skeptical about the Brewmaster pick initially, but teams have been more and more less reliant on Primal Split. And like you said, there were no vision heroes, so normally you're like, there's no way that this Brewmaster's ever going to get a Primal Split off whenever he has to deal with Battery Assault and Night Stalker's crippling Fierce Silence. But they were not really concerned about cooldowns. Like, you'd see an Epicenter and a Chrono spent on a Rubik. You'd see a Death Ward be spent on, like, just solo targets like a Clockwork and stuff like that. And so TNC never really punished them for spending so much time and so many expensive spells on these tiny fights. And like you said, the laning phase went very well. It was a high aggression. Raven left the lane extremely early because he was like, well, I've gotten plenty of farm as my Razor, and I'm just going to keep getting drunk and hazed if I keep staying in the bot lane. So he was spending a lot of time top, and they were continuously bullying Faceless Void over and over again. But they never really...
Faceless Void, even with the super greedy build, after he went for Battle Fury, so you should punish him. Also, you have two big cooldowns on the side of Team Spirit, Brewmaster, Split, and Chrono. So you should play around these cooldowns. When one is on cooldown, TNC has none big cooldowns. They have the heroes that can pretty much fight all the time.
So speaking of these cooldowns, do you think there was a reason why TNC didn't decide to punish them on cooldowns? Do they want to try and out-farm them with the Shadow Fiend?
Well, like Lumi was saying, neither of the cores were really enabled at any point. It was... Normally, whenever I'm watching a TNC game and they're doing poorly, it's usually like, I'll see Raven die and I'll be like, well, at least Cuckoo's farming. Or I'll see Cuckoo die and I'll be like, well, at least Raven's farming. But this situation, every single time the camera panned back and forth between the two cores, they were always both dying.
Yeah, look at this scenario. They use Chrono and the Witch Doctor ulti just to kill the Rubik. They should still take the fight and be able to win it.
Maybe it just came down to not enough confidence from the team saying that, we don't really want to commit. Even though these two spells are down, we're still too scared to fight into Team Spirit. Maybe, do you think it's nerves as well sometimes? So playing on the live stage or playing it in front of a live audience, maybe the players, they're just not fully comfortable yet. Because they're not at home on their own PCs. They're playing in a different country. Not for TNC, but for Team Spirit, they did surprisingly well.
They're all pretty much experienced players. Had a lot of lands so far, so I don't think that's the influence. Maybe it's just the first game, and Team Spirit played really well though. Also, we didn't mention Void. He had some sick chronos this game, especially when you're playing against the Night Stalker who reduces your vision during nighttime.
Yeah, there was like so many opportunities in which I was like, well, this Void's never going to really be able to deal any damage, but Spirit was so good at keeping TNC split up constantly, and like I didn't really see any situations in which Night Stalker used Hunter to give Clockwork vision for a hook shot, or Clockwork was trying to set up for SF to get a huge cogs.
Yeah, this fight, a huge mistake there by Night Stalker. Went for a bottom there with Crippling Fear. She had Manta Style ready, so everything after that was pretty much a disaster. Like two Manta Styles on the side of Team Spirit, one on bottom, one on Void. Night Stalker is pretty much useless in these fights.
So now that TNC, they've lost their first game of the day, what do they need to consider before they move into game 2 of this series? Was there something that Team Spirit did that they need to reevaluate?
I think it needs to be more clear shot calling on TNC. It's like really the most abusable thing about the Spirit draft is the cooldowns, and especially with how recklessly they were spending them, you'd think that TNC would be like, okay, well, let's 5-man group up and push, but at no point besides these Roche fights did TNC ever really group up as a unit and start taking objectives. They were always just like off doing their own thing, and Spirit was like, all right, well, we'll spend our team fight ultimates then. It's not like you guys are ever going to be grouping up anyway.
This is the Roche fight, not the best Chrono. But still managed to take down one.
I think we call that zoning chronos in regular
course.
games of Dota. It actually was a bit of a nuisance though, like the SF, he was thrown in the air, couldn't really do anything because he was stuck in that small spot. Like it was either he runs into the chrono or he gets thrown into the air by the Panda. So I think at the end of the day though, Team Spirit, they did everything so super well. Is DK Phobos' Panda worth banning for game 2?
Well, I'll say DK Phobos is their best player. He's the most experienced one as well. He's been playing Dota since Dota 1 days. So he has a really large hero pool as well, so I don't think you can ban him out. His Cyclones were on point this game. Pretty much it was either Razor or Shadowfiend in the air, so the fight starts 4 versus 5 pretty much. You have one in Chrono, that's one less, so 3 versus 5, you can't take fights anymore.
Yeah, I have no real issues with the draft per se. I think it's mainly just in strategy. Raven can probably afford to play a little bit more greedy, perhaps, but it's definitely something in mentality issues, I think, right now. But, it's just game 1. It's plenty of time that you can, reevaluate.
Plenty of time in one game to come back.
Of course. While we're yammering, I'm sure TNC are like, oh god.
Well, they are having a little bit of rest time. They need to have that group talk, maybe reevaluate what they did for this first game. Hopefully they can get it fixed up in game 2. Do you actually feel like TNC's signature style of just going balls out crazy a way to actually play against Team Spirit? Because we didn't really see that in that match, right? We saw TNC, they were getting some kills, but then they moved back into this passive style until they got engaged again.
Well, you gotta play passive when you're 10k gold away from the other team. So
I saw so many SF death ultimates where just 5 souls popped out, and that's how you know that SF is having a miserable game.
I mean, it was either Cuckoo or Raven getting caught before the fights even started. Yeah.
Now that's really not a position you want to be in, though. You don't want to have any of your cores being caught out at the front.
Well, at this point, the game was pretty much over.
Yeah, pretty much. So do you actually think we might need to see a bit of a rework with these heroes? So instead of having that core Night Stalker, you have a proper initiator that can disengage those fights, because outside of the clockwork, there really was no disengage on the side of TNC. It was just the clockwork. Night Stalker would just come in, crippling fear someone, and then that'll be it. Once the chrono was up, they can't do anything.
That's the problem when you have an offlaner like a Night Stalker. You want to put a lot of pressure on an enemy team, but you don't have anything big to counter the initiation with, like a Tidehunter, Centaur, just to run away.
Even an Earthshaker support, even Earthshaker offlane, just something to throw into the chronosphere to just completely disengage the fight.
You have pretty much the two of the same hero. You have Clockwork and Night Stalker who do the same thing. So that's one of the problems. You want to put a lot of pressure with these two. You want to be the one who's initiating the fights.
And part of the reason I think was the itemization. Like there were 0 BKBs this game, and Spirit didn't care. That's like they didn't need BKBs because they were never getting initiated on. But
even if they had BKBs, Chronosphere, you get caught in the chrono, you haven't popped your BKB yet, or you have, but you're stuck in the chrono and you're wasting duration.
it's true, but at the minimum, at least someone wouldn't be getting Brewmaster Cycloned. Like Razor had built up a lot of survivability. He had a hood, and if you have this very tanky core, you usually want him to be soaking up all the damage, but
Just like DK Phobos. We've got him as MVP of the match as well. He's on your screen with 661 XP per minute, 442 GPM, as well as a 5-1 and 23 KDA.
Yeah, how is he MVP? That's not even 1,000 GPM.
Lacoste, come
what
on.
am I paying these offlaners for?
But considering how he played that game, though, absolutely phenomenal performance. Just setting everything else up for his team, Cyclones. The micro was on point, as some people would say.
Yeah, I mean, just the fact that he was able to get an ultimate off like whatsoever and never really felt harassed by Night Stalker or Clockwork is testament to how they played, and testament to like the vision that I'm sure FNG and Viver were providing as their roaming heroes and support heroes, because Night Stalker and Clockwork are like you should never really have the vision advantage against those heroes, but TNC never had initiation.
Well, if you have a Panda with one death against the Clockwork and the Night Stalker, you know you did something wrong.
Very wrong.
Well, very true. 1 versus 2, and the 2 can't even beat the 1. That doesn't make sense, you know? Like, how do you math that?
Math doesn't add up.
3 + 2, 5, -1 is 4. Quick math. Can't argue with quick math.
Thanks, guys. I really appreciate it. Very good laugh. Okay, so we're going to be jumping into Game 2 very soon, guys. But for now, let's keep on discussing. So let's start moving into Game 2. How are we going to actually approach this next game very quickly?
So TNC have like 2 typical openings. It's either an SF opening or sometimes they go for a PL opening. And this game they went for the SF. They paired it up with the Clockwork. Phantom Lancer ended up getting banned out later on. Otherwise, I'm sure TNC would have been happy to pick it up, especially since they went up against a Brewmaster. You'd be able to just purge off the Drunken Haze. This time it's possible that they may go for a Phantom Lancer opening, and not only will that be different, that Spirit would have to react, but it's also a late game carry, which TNC didn't really have in Game 1, and more often than not is usually when TNC shines. Like, they are very aggressive early on, but it's their ability to withstand the late game, which usually has them coming out against the higher level teams.
Okay, Lacoste, anything to add?
Well, as you mentioned, the Phantom Lancer, he's one of the heroes that is contested in the first big stage in SCA, sometimes in China as well. In Europe, it's kind of so-so. Some teams love to pick it first, but there are a lot of ways to counter the PL right now. But TNC is versatile. They have both the Raven and Cuckoo who play the hero, so they might want to go for this.
Okay, so for now we'll have to see if TNC is going to make it through Game 2 so we can push it to a Game 3, but we'll only find out after this very quick commercial break.